Hey, Midwest Picker here. My name is Dave. I also go by Midwest Picker. I'm a reseller. This is a reselling channel, but I do a lot of what's sold on eBay videos and sourcing videos, some how-to videos, how to ship, how to source, how to list, how to sign up for eBay for the first time. I also wanted to do some story videos. Now I have like 35 stories over a course of a lifetime that are silly, crazy, amazing, gross. And I tell these stories at gatherings and people seem to enjoy it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to make videos of these crazy stories. These are my personal stories that either I was there or they happened to me. They're 100% true, nothing embellished. These things actually happened. These stories are not earth-shattering, bizarre, newsworthy, Bigfoot sightings, alien abduction, nothing like that. They're just work-related or personal stories that are just over-the-top kind of crazy. This story is kind of long and it has twists and turns, but I think you'll find it pretty hilarious. So this story goes way back to 1990. So my wife at the time, her and I received this letter in the mail, and it appeared to be from a travel agency offering a webinar. And if you go to this webinar, you get a free television and you get your name in a drawing for a free vacation. The TV was a 13-inch black and white TV. Woo! Awesome. Even had a little picture on the letter of this stupid little TV. So if you show up, you get this 13-inch black and white TV, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this seems kind of fishy, a little strange. What made it even weirder was the name of the company on the envelope and the letter. It didn't seem right. It looked weird. Kind of like a Hawaiian name, like a made-up name. It was something like Laja Dab or Laja something. I don't know. I don't even remember what it was. I'll put the spelling up here on the screen of what I think it was. It doesn't really matter, but it appeared kind of fake. So my wife at the time, her and I looked at this letter and we thought, you know what, it seems kind of weird. It kind of reminded us of those sting operations where the police would mail letters, and these letters would go out to people that had outstanding warrants, and then all these people would show up to get their free prize or get their name put in a drawing for a brand new car or whatever, and then the police would swarm in and arrest everybody. We've seen that on the news. I think we saw it on the show Cops before. It was pretty hilarious. This letter's kind of had that vibe to it. It was like, yeah, I don't know. It could be legitimate or it could be a sting operation. I don't know. Now this letter, like 1990, this is way before the internet. There's no Google. There's no way to research this company. I mean, you could if you spent a lot of time and money. We had the Yellow Pages, so it was like a phone book of businesses, but we only had it for local businesses around us. If this was an international company, nationwide travel agency, there's really no way for us to look it up. We would have to make tons of phone calls and do lots of research, and we just didn't have those resources then, so we just had to go with our gut instinct. So I looked at my wife and said, well, I haven't done nothing.
Nothing, tra-la-la.
You haven't done anything. I don't have any arrest warrants for me, and you don't have any for you. And if it is a sting operation, we'll sit back and laugh and watch everybody get arrested. It'll be entertaining and hilarious. And if it's not a sting operation, hey, we get this flippin' sweet 13-inch black and white TV and our name in a drawing for the possibility of winning a vacation. So it's really a win-win. It's entertaining, or we might win something, and if it's a bust or a sting operation, we're just going to walk away anyways. So let's get dressed up and get a sitter, and let's go to this thing. Let's RSVP and tell them we're going. But one caveat, we are not signing anything. We're not signing contracts. We're not signing timeshares. We're not making any commitments. If this is the real deal, we're just going to go, listen, get our free TV, and get out of there. So that was our plan. Our plan is to go, be entertained if it's a sting operation, or if it's a real deal, we're going to come home with a free TV. Mike Tyson once said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Nothing could be more true than that. You make a plan to go to a car dealership. I know what I'm going to say. I'm not going to, be bullied. I'm going to do this. I'm only going to spend this. Senior prom, preparing for a boxing match, going to a vacation seminar. Everybody makes plans, and sometimes those plans can go south really fast. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but I was about to walk into a situation worse than a boxing match with Mike Tyson. I just didn't know it, but I thought I was pretty smart because I had a plan. So the day of the webinar comes, we get all dressed up and nice. We jump in our brand new Toyota Tercel. The only reason I mention that is because we've never owned a new car in our life, and that's going to come up later in the story. Our other vehicle was a 71 Chevy pickup. I usually drove that. It was kind of a rust bucket. It did run really good, but my wife had the new car, and we've never owned one before, and we got a good deal on this one, so we thought, you know what, it's 1990. Let's just go get our first new car. So we go to the facility. It's kind of like a college, and it's like the auditorium for a college. It's kind of set up like a movie theater. There's a stage, and there's lots of like theater seating. So we get there and we go in the lobby, and the lobby was set up with all these tables, and some very nice elderly women were there to help, and they had name tags on lanyards spread out all across these tables. So we walk in, and they wave to us, "Hello, how are you?" Big smiles on their face. And we told them our names, and they said, "Oh, okay." And it was kind of in alphabetical order, not really. And she's helping me, and she goes, "Oh, here's yours." And she hands me my name badge. And I looked at it, and it had like a blue stripe across the bottom of the name badge, and then my name on it. And then my wife's had her name on it, but it had either like a black bar across the bottom or no color bar across the bottom. I don't remember. But as I kind of glanced at all the other name badges, I noticed they all had different colors of the rainbow. Red and yellow and orange and green and blue, just all different colors. It was kind of strange, but I'm like, okay, whatever. So we go into the auditorium part, and we go kind of in the middle, but I wanted an aisle seat because I had a plan. So we wanted to sit close to the aisle. So if this was a sting operation, we could just bolt out of there really quick. We didn't want to get trapped around a bunch of people. So we kind of went in the middle, but got a good aisle seat. So a speaker approached the podium. He said, "Welcome to the Holojab, whatever vacation seminar. I'm glad you're here. We're still waiting for others to arrive. We'll get started in about 10 minutes. He also said if we liked, behind us there was a food table, and they had food catered to help ourselves to any finger foods and drinks, and we'll get started soon." And I looked over my shoulder, and sure enough, there was this big spread of food. 5-6 tables full of food, finger foods and hors d'oeuvres and drinks and punch and a bunch of stuff. So I said to my wife, we got a few minutes to kill. I'm going to go up there and get some food, get something to eat. So I get up and I go up to the food table. What I didn't know at the time is that this food was being catered by D&W Grocery Store. I happen to work for D&W Grocery Store in the meat department. Well, I didn't know that at the time. I go up there to get some food. I get a little plate. I start getting myself some hors d'oeuvres, and I look up, and who's standing right there at the food table? The vice president of the company I work for. Now, D&W at the time was a very small food chain. I think maybe 12 stores across West Michigan, and he knew me. The vice president would go to visit all the stores, and he kind of liked the meat department because it was mostly guys, and he would just make small talk and talk about current events. So when I go up to the food table, he saw me, and his eyes got really big. He's like, "Dave, what are you doing here?" And then he quickly composed himself and said, "Yeah, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, I got this letter for this vacation seminar, and I'm just here to listen to the seminar, get my free TV." And yeah, it's kind of cool. The D&W's catering this? I didn't know that. And he said, yeah, we're catering the food, and it's a really good deal, good advertising for the grocery store, blah blah blah. Just made general small talk. He kind of like composed himself and tried to calm down, and I said, "Oh, okay." And it looked like it was about to start, so I said, "I'll talk to you later." And he kind of snuck off and disappeared down this hallway, and I went back and took my seat. So the event was ready to begin. The same speaker comes back to the podium. He welcomes everybody for being there. Thank you, thank you. And there was actually a little black and white TV on the stage right next to the podium as he's talking. It's like a prop. And he's talking, he's got this big grin on his face, just big smile. And I don't know what it is. I have this pet peeve about people who smile talk, like this huge grin while they're talking. It just drives me crazy. It's like I'm being lied to. I don't know. It could just be me. I could be totally wrong. I don't know. But he had this big grin, and he just starts talking. So as he's talking about, the travel agency and how long they've been in business, this guy in the front row, he interrupts him, and he raises his hand, and he goes, "Hey, when do we get our free TVs?" And the guy speaking at the podium, obviously annoyed, he looks down at the guy and he goes, "Oh, you'll get your free TV. Don't worry about that." That was the first red flag. I should have known something, but it was kind of funny. And the whole room was silent. And I forgot to mention, there's about 100 people in this room. Now, half of them are guests of other people. So people brought their grandmothers and their spouses and their girlfriends and their neighbors. So even though there's like 100, there was like 50 initial people, and then it said in the letter you could bring a guest. So I'm assuming it was around 50 and a guest. So the speaker, after being interrupted, resumes his speech about this travel agency, and by now my wife and I are giddy with excitement. We're like, our eyes are wide open and we're looking around like, I wonder if he's going to get arrested. I wonder if he's going to get arrested. And she's like, oh, don't say that. Maybe this really is a seminar. I'm like, yeah, it could be. And I don't know why, but we were just really excited. And I kept thinking to myself, if this is a real seminar, we got free food, we get a free TV, this is awesome. And we get our name in a drawing for a possible vacation. And then I'm like, hey, I'm just going to kick back and relax, because if it's a sting operation, I got a front row seat to watch all these guys get arrested. I mean, that's entertaining, right? So as this guy's talking, over my left shoulder, I hear a loud bang. And then the grin on my face disappears, and then I hear another bang, and then bang, bang, bang. And what it was is the sound of all the steel doors behind me slamming shut and locking. And then out of nowhere, sheriffs come running down the aisles carrying shotguns, about 12 to 14 of them, and they go down the aisles from the back of the room to the stage, stop, point them at us, and say, don't move. And I looked up to my left, and there's a shotgun pointed right at my head. And nobody moved. When you've got 12, 14 angry cops with shotguns pointed at you, nobody moved. The whole place, all 100 people, froze like statues. And me and my wife, we were just frozen. Our plans pretty much out the window by now. Nobody said a word. Nobody dared to move. Then other cops came out from behind the stage, behind the curtain. They came pouring out from all over the place, and they started going through the crowd, checking their name badges, their lanyards and their name badge, looking at the color bar at the bottom, and started handcuffing people. And as they handcuffed them, they would lead them out of the auditorium, out the exit door. And what we didn't know is that there was a school bus or two outside ready to take everybody downtown to jail to be processed. That's when this very nice older gentleman, a sheriff, came up to me, and my wife and I are still frozen in fear. And he comes up to me and he looks at my name badge.
You don't need to see his identification.
And then he just says, I need you to stand up, put your hands behind your back. And I'm like, okay. So I stood up and I put my hands behind my back, and he zip tied my wrists together, and he said I was under arrest. Now, I wasn't too worried because I knew this was just a big misunderstanding. I hadn't done anything to be arrested. This would all be, figured out. My wife, of course, understandably was upset. She was crying because she didn't know what the outcome was going to be. But I wasn't too worried at the moment. I said to the officer very calmly, and this is, a learning experience and a good public service announcement for anybody watching. If this happens to you, just remain calm. The worst thing you can do is protest, argue, resist. Just remain calm. And that's what I did. I'm not saying I know everything in the world, but this guy was very nice to me, so I was nice to him. And I said, sir, I'm really kind of confused. I have no idea why I'm being arrested. Could you tell me why I'm being arrested? And as I'm talking to him, he's walking me out of the auditorium. And I'm thinking to myself, I am not getting on that bus. There's no way I'm getting on that bus. And as we're walking, he looked down at my name badge, and I assume he's looking at the color bar at the bottom of my name badge. And he said, it looks like you have a warrant for unpaid child support. So my mind went into overdrive. I did not want to get on that bus, and I quickly figured out what happened. This was a case of mistaken identity. My biological father has the exact same name as I do. He's a senior, and I'm a junior. And he has this issue, or had this issue back in the day, of unpaid child support. That letter was supposed to go to him, and it ended up going to me instead by mistake. Well, they don't know that, and when I went there and asked for the name badge and said my name is, what it is, and they said, oh, and they handed it to me assuming I was my dad. So I stopped walking, and I said to the gentleman, I figured out what happened, and I explained the whole thing to him. I have the same name as my dad. He's a senior, I'm a junior. you're probably looking for him. Would you do me a big favor and check the date of birth on the arrest warrant and compare it to my date of birth? I told him my wallet is in my back pocket, my ID's in the wallet, and if you could just check it real quick, you'll see that I'm not the guy you're looking for. Now, he didn't have to do this. He could have taken me all the way downtown, processed me through jail, figured it out down there, but he was an older guy. I think he's seen it all, done it all, and he kind of paused, and he took a deep breath, and he goes, okay. So I kind of turned, with my butt towards him, and he took my wallet out of my back pocket, took out my driver's license, handed me the wallet or gave it to my wife, and he said, I'll be right back, just wait right here. And he kind of went backstage and disappeared to make a phone call. What seemed like an eternity was probably 5 to 10 minutes, but he came back and he said, please accept our apologies, you are correct. This is a case of mistaken identity. We are not looking for you. He used a tool and cut the zip ties off my wrist, gave me my driver's license back, apologized again. He said, you're free to go. So we quickly speed walked out of there before they changed their mind. No, they wouldn't do that. But we got out of there really quick. We go outside into the parking lot, and there's 2 school buses with people being loaded onto it, and their guests or companions are going to where we're going, to the parking lot to get in their cars to leave. I can imagine some strange conversations that evening or the next day. Also, the local news was there, so they were set up with video cameras about 100 feet away. It's as close as the cops would let them get, and they're filming all these people being put on the bus, and I'm like, covering my face as we get into our car. And it was a small, like a 30-second blip on the news, no big deal that night. But, the police said 100 people were arrested in this sting operation. Well, not really 100, it was more like 50, minus me and a couple other people that were a case of mistaken identity. So when you hear that on the news, 100 people arrested in a sting operation, it's really more like 40. So later, after this was all over, I learned through an attorney that those different colors on the name badges represented different crimes. Some were serious felons, like rape, murder, armed robbery, unpaid child support was mine. Some of them are like minor offenses, but I was sitting in that auditorium rubbing elbows with these dangerous felons. So the reason I mentioned that brand new Toyota Tercel that we bought, we head down the highway to go home, and I hit a deer and totaled our car. I couldn't avoid the deer. It ran right out in front of us, smacked it, destroyed our car. Toyota Tercel is a pretty small car. We weren't injured. I don't remember airbags going off. I don't even know if it had airbags, but my wife and I were fine. We didn't get hurt, but the car was a total loss. This was a bizarre day, to say the least. I did explain to my boss at work the next day, and I had him call the vice president and explain that it was a case of mistaken identity. I was not arrested. I'm at work now, and it was all just a big mistake. My car was covered by insurance, so I did get a new car. But you know what? I never did get that 13-inch black and white TV. After we got home, I dug that envelope from the travel agency out of the trash, and I looked at the name one more time, and I realized that the name of the travel agency spelled backwards is Bad Jail. So that's the video, guys. If you think you've been invited to a sting operation, just don't go. It ain't worth it. It's not fun at all. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share this video. If you know anybody that would find this story funny, hit that share button and send it off to somebody and say, hey, check out what happened to Midwest Picker. He faced 12 angry cops with loaded shotguns. Thank goodness nobody sneezed. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? That would have been a slaughter. So that's it, guys. Till next time, see ya.